What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to DLF. I'm your host, Justin. Today we are talking through our start-sit video for wide receivers. We're back to the regular video. We're not doing the one-off guys anymore. We got 4 wide receivers to talk through. Before we get into it, guys, again, if you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, drop it down below. Follow myself, follow Addison, follow DLF, more importantly, on Twitter as well. All right, let's get into it. Number 1 on the list, we are talking Adam Thielen versus the Miami Dolphins. Now, I'm just going to start off with a stat that Ian Harris posted over on Twitter that I think is important here. Adam Thielen, since 2018, has not gone 3 games where he did not get injured without scoring a touchdown. Basically, this is game 3. He is due for a touchdown. That's how we're looking at it. It is a predictive stat courtesy of Ian Harris, and that alone makes Adam Thielen an interesting candidate, right? Do you fully buy into the narrative there? Maybe not. That's fine. I get that, but it's an interesting stat. It's a fun stat. So let's look at the matchup. Let's look at what Thielen has been doing recently. Over the last 3 weeks, the Miami Dolphins, who have a pretty banged-up secondary, right? They are not at full strength. I think we all know that. Defenses seem to know it as well. They're a top 5 matchup for wide receivers. They've just been getting torched. And the crazy thing is, they've only allowed 2 touchdowns. Like, it's not like they're just giving up a bunch of touchdowns and that's been breaking the back. It's receptions and yardage where they just cannot contain anybody right now. Teams are kind of doing whatever they want offensively. And that bodes well for Adam Thielen. While obviously, right, he carries touchdown upside. This could give him a high floor as well. He's seen 7+ targets in 4 straight games, basically every week since week 1. And that means Adam Thielen is back to being Adam Thielen, right? He's never going to be a 10 to 12 target guy, but 7 to 9? Absolutely. And again, he's due for a touchdown. It's insane to say that, but he's due for a touchdown. The matchup is perfect. Kirk Cousins looks better. You probably have to start Adam Thielen. Now, is he a top 24 guy? I'm not going to go that far. But if he's a flex, I don't really see how you can sit him, right? Again, in Dynasty, in deep redraft leagues, that means he's an auto start. So play him over Juju, who has just been bad, and now he's going to get a pretty good Buffalo defense. It could work out for Juju. I prefer Thielen, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore. Things have not been good for them as of late either. I will roll out Adam Thielen over both as well. Moving on to the next player here. We are talking Jakobi Meyers versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, if you watched the running back video, depending on when this came out, if you haven't watched it yet, it'll be out in 2 hours. They have been getting torched by running backs, right? Like that's what's happening to Cleveland. They cannot stop anybody on the ground. What that means is teams haven't had to pass, right? Like you haven't seen wide receivers just destroy this defense, but they can. Denzel Ward is banged up. He's not 100% right now. I'm recording this Wednesday night. So Denzel Ward's probably going to play, but he might not be at 100%. That's another bonus for Jakobi Meyers. I mean, look at Mike Williams last week. Mike Williams had a great game. Had a 22-yard touchdown called back on that stupid heel rule that we all hate at this point in the season. But this defense can be taken advantage of. I think the bottom 3 matchup over the last 3 weeks is deceiving just because teams have, again, beat the crap out of them on the ground. I don't think it's a necessarily great secondary, as evidenced by Mike Williams last week. And again, right, Jakobi Meyers has been very good. And if you think, well, has he really been that great? Yes, he has. He's played 3 games only, but he's wide receiver 8 in points per game. That's insane. I mean, like, he is right now a must-start wide receiver. He is a wide receiver, too, in every sense of the word. I don't care about the matchup, just because if you look at the production, especially last week with Bailey Zappi, like, if Zappi's starting again, and I think he will be, I'm more than okay saying I have to have Jakobi Meyers in my lineup because he's given us no reason not to play him. So roll him out and play the hot hand here. Guys, I'll take him over Adam Thielen. We just talked about Thielen. I like Thielen this week. I like Jakobi Meyers a lot more. The other name here, Drake London, the matchup against the 49ers, it's not my favorite. Teams are going to spread the ball out against the Niners because they play a lot of zone, which means London, it's not the most optimal game for him. I prefer Jakobi Meyers, even in what is considered statistically a tough matchup. I still want Meyers in that one. So again, Jakobi Meyers, a wide receiver 2 and a borderline, or screw it, I'll say it. He is a must-start wide receiver this week. The next one on the list, a little less high profile, it is Devin Duvernay against the New York Giants, and this all hinges on Rashad Bateman, right? If Rashad Bateman is healthy, I don't think he will be, but if he's healthy, don't even consider Duvernay. Like, he's not in flex consideration even. Bateman is out, Duvernay becomes significantly more interesting, right? Last week, he puts up 12 points, gets a couple of carries. He saw a 22% target share. Like, those are positives. The downside is the Ravens still only threw 32 times. That only resulted in 7 targets, right? It's not the most ideal scenario, and the Giants' defense has been good. Like, it has been a bottom 10 matchup for wide receivers over the last 3 weeks. And I mean, Mark Andrews, like, that is the Ravens' pass offense. Unless Duvernay hits a big play, he's probably a low-end wide receiver 3. Like, he's a flex play. He's a deep flex play. He's behind, obviously, Thielen and Meyers at this point, but he's even behind guys like DJ Moore, Romeo Doubs, George Pickens, who we'll talk about in a sec, Rondale Moore, right? Those guys just seems like they're either more volume, they have bigger play potential. It's just, Duvernay's tough to get behind right now. Again, you may have to start him as a deep flex, and that's fine, right? He carries boom-bust potential, but the bust potential is very, very high, even if Rashad Bateman is out. So tread lightly with Devin Duvernay in your lineups this week. And to close us out, it is the guy I just mentioned. It is George Pickens, right? He has been basically what seems like on fire the last 2 weeks with Kenny Pickett taking over, and yes and no, right? He's still not the wide receiver 1 here. I think we saw things kind of revert back to what we're used to seeing with the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 5, which is Deontay Johnson led the team with 13 targets. Everybody else is kind of following up behind him. George Pickens saw 8 total, which, like, that total raw value is good. Like, that's a good number. 8 targets you're thrilled with. It's not great when you consider Kenny Pickett threw 52 times, and that means Pickens saw 15% target share. Like, that is a lot less interesting. Now, against Tampa, you could see a similar game script. Like, Tampa's rolling right now. It feels like their offense has figured it out. The Steelers are, I don't want to say giving up, but they're not really playing hard. So if they're down double digits the entire game, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised, which means great game script. Pickens could see 8 to 10 targets again, even on a low target share. On top of all of this, or I guess you want to say the underlying factor in all this that makes Pickens still a very interesting boom-bust play, he is 4th in the NFL in air yards over the last 2 weeks, which means if he connects on, one of his 6 to 7 targets, which is realistic, he could have a monster day. Like, that is the boom-bust potential. He's very Devin Duvernay-esque, except there's just more volume, more likely to be there. So I prefer Pickens over Duvernay, but man, the air yards is what makes him intriguing. Like, that is why he's still a flex play, because you only need to hit one of those, 2 of them, and you're looking at potentially a wide receiver 2 week. If he finds the end zone, you could be looking at a lot more. So Pickens is a very boom or bust wide receiver 3, wide receiver flex, whatever you want to call it. To me, he's very similar to a Jerry Jeudy, a Romeo Doubs, who we've already kind of mentioned. He's similar to Brandon Ayuk, but again, I prefer the ceiling of Pickens, whereas Ayuk, I think, probably has a safer floor at this point in the season. All right, guys, that is all we have for you. Again, like what we're doing, subscribe, questions, comments, drop it down below. As always, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.